Lorne Cabin. For hundreds of years, the land area we now live on was occupied by Native Americans known as the Ojibwa tribe. As the boundary runs right through this area, it's unclear whether the 1836 Treaty of Washington or the 1842 Treaty of La Pointe ended with the tribe ceding the land to the United States government. During subsequent years, early settlement started and mining exploration began. When the story continues, the year is 1878. Antoine and Florence Lemire made application under the U.S. Homestead Act for 80 acres of the land now known as 192 Cundy Road, Skandia, Michigan. The story began when the Lemire family moved from Quebec, Canada to Marquette, Michigan, and settled in 1854. It is not known if they settled first on this land, but he did get a homestead certificate granting them the land in 1879. To legally obtain the certificate required building a dwelling, clearing 5 acres of land, and living on the land for 5 years. Although we can't be sure, I believe that this is when the cabin and barn were built. Chances are, the barn was first to be built. The horses and a possible cow had to be housed first, as so much depended on them. We don't know, but it was common for families at this time to live in the barn as the house was being built. Can you imagine the struggles to build? Just felling and dragging the cedar trees to the site would be an enormous task. Hand hewing the large cedar logs to make them square was a backbreaking task. A bowl-shaped cellar was dug by horsepower using a buck scraper. The horses walked in and out of the bowl, taking out a scoop at a time. This cellar is still beneath the trapdoor of the cabin. During the ensuing years, numerous families called the cabin home, farmed the land, raised children, and met the many daily struggles of far north country living. It was a 10-mile trip to town by walking or by horse and wagon, on a rutted dirt road, now Highway 41, in winter by snowshoe, and later by rail. What a remarkable, strong, and resilient people our ancestors were. The hard physical work, cold, and isolation, all taken as a matter of course. No wonder family names, Bergdahls, Barmans, Wilsons, Cundys, Heitmans, and Lemires are still common in the area. The routines of the family, clearing land, cutting wood for winter, growing and preserving food, and the passing of the seasons continued on Cundy Road until the property was sold in 1894 to George Thornton, then to his son James in 1895, who sold it to Marshall Huff in 1904. This was the split of the original 80-acre homestead, with the southeast 1/4 40 acres to Julius Cundy in 1906, which still remains in that family today. George sold the current northeast 1/4 40 acres to Ida Strom in 1912, who sold it to Henry Carlson in 1920. This is the last recorded transaction until Dr. Walfred J. Sari's purchase in the 1950s. It was rumored that it served as a hunting/getaway camp for Walfred and his friends. In 1961, the cabin and property were sold to Donald Mac McDonald, who then lived there until his death in 2004. His occupancy appears to be the longest of any of the many inhabitants throughout the years. 2008 begins the most current chapter for the cabin. Mary and I bought the property in 2006 and built a house on the hill behind the cabin. While the house was being built, I was selling our farm and wrapping up my career in Newaygo, Michigan. Much work was to be done to clean and rid the property of over 100 years of human accumulation. In the years we have been living on this land, the rebuilding process started anew. Some of the additions include a sauna with attached wood lean-tos, a workshop, the center for many projects, an apiary for our 5 to 15 beehives, and a one-of-a-kind hive house for relaxing with the bees. Further projects saw the building of an outdoor kitchen/sugar shack, canning, syrup making, and cider pressing. A small sawmill provided the lumber and logs for all of the work, including one of our favorite retreats, the writing cabin back in the woods. In 2012, the cabin saw the birth of a child, our granddaughter Sorrel. When she was 2 years old, she started calling the cabin the Bourne Cabin, as it is now known. My daughter Hannah and her husband John have joined the cabin ancestors and began their family here before moving on to their own land and a hand-built log home. A reconstruction of the Bourne Cabin began in the summer of 2016, initiated by my eldest daughter, Natasha, and finishing in 2020. Rechinking the logs, insulating the floor and ceiling, wiring, flooring, roofing, and new sill logs. We calculated that the original white cedar sill logs were over 600 years old. What a treasure to use the remnants for special projects. Natasha has been faithful to the early dwellers and modernizing as necessary. What a beautiful, warm, and cozy place. This far north country of Michigan has had at least 138 years of dwelling on this 40-acre parcel, beginning with Native Americans, followed by an immigrant family from France via Canada, and now a long-time immigrant family of Germany and Sweden. In between, other occupants represented the countries of England, Scotland, Norway, Finland, and Ireland. It is this vital energy from a diverse group of people that continue to nourish and renew our land. The land again rings with the sounds of friends, grandchildren, social and family gatherings, and I can only hope that this connection to 192 Cundy Road, Skandia, Michigan, will continue for hundreds of years to come.